In my video short about the Elman induction, I made the case that one reason this induction works as well as it does comes from the way it plays with cultural tropes around hypnosis. It feels like a hypnosis procedure, and that makes it a convincing framework for trance induction. But there are also sound mechanical, technical reasons the Elman is a strong choice for a lot of subjects. Let's get into it. The Elman induction was created by Dave Elman and documented by him in his book Hypnotherapy in 1964. There are a lot of different versions of this induction. I learned it initially from a well-known Mike Mandel video from 2012. I'll include a link to that in the show notes. Dr. Mandel's version includes both visualization and fractionation elements, which aren't in Elman's original model. I like those bits a lot. Common steps in the Elman induction: hypnotic contract, visualized relaxation, eyelid catalepsy, fractionation, arm drop deepening, number blocking, and finally, reemergence. Here's the breakdown of the how and the why of my practice of the Elman. First of all, I'm not super consistent about the words I say, or even the specific order I do things in. My Elman generally does the job anyway, though. Also, stylistically, I find it useful for both the subject and myself if, during the induction, I describe what I'm about to do at each stage and then do it. You don't have to do that, but there's no particular reason for you not to do it either. This isn't a magic trick you're doing. This induction doesn't depend upon surprise in any way. In fact, part of its charm is how procedural it seems. So, the hypnotic contract. So, would you like to do some hypnosis?
Yes.
Good. Excellent. Plays an important role here. It establishes intention and, honestly, the subject's submission to the process. I've done a video short on the hypnotic contract. I'll leave a link to the video in the notes below. Everything I say in that video applies here. I also open a compliance set, which I do pretty much in any induction. With the Elman, I commonly have the subject take a nice deep breath, in through the nose and out through the mouth. So take a nice deep breath in, let it out. I might use the opportunity to have my subject relax those eyes closed at this point. Or I might tell them to feel a wash of relaxation from the top of their head to the bottoms of their feet. And now I'd like you to take one more breath in, release your eyes shut, and let a wave of relaxation wash through your body. Always, I have them visualize clenching their fist and then relaxing it completely. I want you to imagine that you're clenching your fist just as hard as you can. And then take another inhale, still imagining clenching your fist, and release it as you release your breath. Just let it go, relax. That part came from Dr. Mandel. By the way, I made a short about opening compliance sets too, link below. In the Elman, the compliance set pattern introduces relaxation as a goal of our induction. Now, relaxation and trance aren't the same thing, but the two are culturally mistaken for one another often enough that it sometimes suits us to conflate the two. Relaxation doesn't require an understanding of the nuances of trance states. Most people know how to relax, and we're using some strategies here to convince the subject they're achieving a state of relaxation. So reinforcing the association between relaxation and trance states suits our cause perfectly. I also want to make a note that this is an opportunity to add in some language that dissociates the subject from their bodies just a little bit. In through the nose rather than in through your nose, and so on. It's a subtle language shift, but it's important, and might set the stage for work you could do later. Also, for some people, visualize clenching that fist is language that overlaps the visual modality. The word visualize invites visualization, obviously, with the kinesthetic modality. Clenching that fist invites the subject to feel themselves clenching that fist. This can be really helpful. I have a video about modalities too. The eyelid catalepsy piece, and I want you to take a moment to relax all the tiny muscles around those eyes of yours. Relax the muscles controlling your eyebrows, your cheeks, and your eyelids. And when you get to a place where you're so relaxed and you know you're really relaxed, it'll be at a point where your eyelids just won't work. When you know for sure you're there, go ahead and test them. Make sure that they are that relaxed. Nice. Good. Takes full advantage of all the compliance set building. But its purpose here is as what we in the hypnosis biz call a convincer. The testing the relaxation part is all about confirming for the subject that hypnosis is underway. It convinces. My experience of the fractionation piece, in fact, open your eyes. We're going to do this. Close your eyes, deeper in trance. Open your eyes, close your eyes, even deeper in trance. Open, close your eyes, deeper in trance. Open, close, and further down in trance. Good job. Is that this is where I, as a subject, go under. I made a fractionation video recently. See the show notes below. And that's exactly what's happening here. I feel a heavy sinking with each pass of the hand in front of my face. You may go under in some other phase of this. Hypnosis is incredibly individual, but this is where I go down. Also, linking the hand pass with the word drop or deeper does some important work anchoring the physical motion of dropping, the hand moving, with the state change concept of dropping, going more deeply into trance. Even my doing that to myself just now, I felt the sense of heavy sinking I talked about a moment ago. The arm drop, so picking up your hand, dropping your hand, show how relaxed you are, is also a convincer. I'll do at least one video about convincers. They come in all different shapes and sizes. Take the subject's thumb, using it to lift the arm a little, and give that arm a waggle to confirm it's loose. Generally, it's very loose because it's just been hanging out in their lap this whole time, and they haven't been paying attention to it anyway. The nonverbal arm waggle, though, will shake out any last tension in the arm. Lift it just a little and say something like, notice the arm drop like a wet rag into your lap, and drop the arm exactly on the word drop. It's incredibly convincing when it happens to me, even though I know what's going on the whole time. Also, shifting modifiers from the arm to your lap subtly shifts the subject's internal focus from the arm to the receiving lap in a way I find very pleasing. Elman and Mandel both introduced the number blocking part of the induction by suggesting the subject has already achieved physical relaxation and now it's time to achieve mental relaxation. One more deep breath. That's the physical relaxation we were going for. Let's work on some mental relaxation, counting backwards from 100. And with each number, go ahead and say deeper relaxed or deeper in trance.
100, relaxed. 99, we're in trance.
Even deeper.
88, we're in trance.
Even deeper.
87,
and all gone. Number blocking is, for most people anyway, simply a deepener. It intensifies a state already being experienced by the subject, but by introducing it as a new kind of relaxation for the subject to experience, the hypnotist is inviting the subject to experience depth as a new mental state. Number blocking can also introduce some very low-key amnesia play into the mix, but we're not ready to talk about that yet. This number blocking part, if your subject just keeps counting, that's totally okay. Observe them. Look for a symmetrical facial affect and possibly a slumping of the shoulders or other evidence of trance. Look for any subtle or not subtle physical changes with each repetition. If you see they've at least achieved some state of relaxation, they probably have also achieved some level of trance. Feel free to interrupt their counting. Just say, all gone or something. Number blocking has done its job. I'd intercede before they get to 90. 95 would be fine. And then finally, there's the reemergence. I'm going to count you up. 3 count. Deep breath in. 1, 2, wiggle your fingers. And 3, all the way up. Nice. Sounds good.
Hmm.
Should we go have dinner?
Yes, please.
Reemergence is the process of bringing the subject out of trance. I have a reemergence video, of course. It's just as important as the induction. For these demos, I didn't add any post-hypnotic stuff to the mix, but reemergence is a classic time to do that. Dr. Mandel, in his demo video, includes a suggestion that his subject will know they've learned even more about hypnosis as they come out of trance, which is a great idea, even in a recreational or erotic context. And that's pretty much the structure of the thing. One more note about language. Both Elman and Dr. Mandel employ a suggestion that the subject go twice as deep, or double their relaxation. I attended a workshop where the Elman was taught and the instructions suggested we say 5 times as deep. Me and a lot of my friends find that off-putting. My fractionation video notwithstanding, we find assigning a numeric value, any numeric value, to our trance state kind of takes us out of it a bit. You and your partner may have different results. You know, I don't use the Elman much in partnered play. It's fun and effective, and me and my partners really did enjoy returning to it for these demos after not having done it for so long. But for play with my intimate partners, it's a little bit formal and contrived. While with a new partner, particularly one new to hypnosis, those formal, contrived elements might be exactly what the situation calls for. Who might have problems with the Elman induction? I mean, first of all, there is no one-size-fits-all induction. So this isn't a criticism of the Elman or of the people who have a rough time with it. There are a few kinds of folks who might find it challenging, but most obvious on the list are those people who have a rough time relaxing at will, because relaxation is a stated goal condition of the Elman. Relaxation might be a code word in this case for trance, but we do seem to repeat it an awful lot here. But if the Elman doesn't work for you, you should look at that focus when troubleshooting the situation. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Trance isn't the same thing as relaxation, and relaxation isn't trance. They coincide in many people, even most people, but that's not a universal or necessary experience in hypnosis. Don't be concerned if relaxation based inductions don't do it for you. Just because you, as a subject, find it hard to relax doesn't mean you're not a wonderful candidate for trance. But the Elman is a solid win for a lot of folks, so I can recommend it. It does have a high success rate, and it's easy to figure out. Hypnotists, here's the thing. If you have confidence in the process and in your deployment of it, this one is one you want in your toolbox. For such an authoritarian and almost heavy-handed induction, it works for most people most of the time, and honestly, you can't ask for more than that. Go try it. Have fun. I'll be here when you get back.